There is this sister in the Bible by the name of Abigail. Abigail had wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and deep discernment, and she was able to save her entire household from destruction. First Samuel chapter 25, verses 2 and 3. A certain man in my own, who had property there at Carmel, was very wealthy. He had 1,000 goats and 3,000 sheep, which he was shearing in Carmel. His name was Nabal, and his wife's name was Abigail. She was a very intelligent and beautiful woman, but her husband was surly and mean in his dealings, and he was a Calebite. So it says Nabal was a Calebite. So there are two Calebs in the Bible, but the most popular one is the one who works with Joshua. If you know this story or if you don't know the story, but either way, it can be found in Numbers, starting in Numbers, because it was Moses who elected these people from the 12 tribes to go be spies and to scope out the promised land, which is Canaan. And Joshua and Caleb were the ones that were not afraid because they served God, and they were the ones that were able to take control of the promised land and get it from the Canaanites and those overgrown giants, Nephilim, that was there in that land. More confirmation that we're talking about the correct Caleb. It says here in First Chronicles chapter 4, verses 15 through 16, the sons of Caleb, son of Jephunneh. And it gives the names. And then if you go down to 16, the sons of Jehalalel. Now, pay attention to this. Ziph, Zephah, Tyriah, and Asariel. That has nothing to do with what we read before in First Samuel, but the book by Flavius Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews, he says that this guy, Naval, was a Zephite. So that means that these people, from Jehalalel, was a descendant of Caleb, and these were his sons, Ziph, Ziphah, Tyriah, and Asariel. So the Naval came from the line of Caleb through Ziph. So he was a Ziphite, which was a Calebite. Okay, back to 1 Samuel 25, 2 through 41 is the story of David, Abigail, and Nabal. So we already established that he was a Calebite. We went through the information briefly. There's a whole story behind that, but we won't get into that. This is about Abigail. While David was in the wilderness, this is verse 4, he heard that Nabal was shearing sheep. So he sent 10 young men and said to them, "Go up to Nabal at Carmel and greet him in my name. Say to him, long life to you, good health to you and your household, and good health to all that is yours." So basically, David's trying to be nice to him and everything like that, right? So he knows he's a Calebite, a Zephite. They're basically from the same lineage. They're from the tribe of Judah, right? So he's trying to be nice to his brethren, pretty much. Little did David know this man was as evil can come. So in the book Antiquities of the Jews by Flavius Josephus, if we go down to chapter 13, this is talking about Nabal. It's a little more detailed than the 66 books of the Bible. It gives more details about Nabal. That's how we found out he was a Zephite. And David was having issues with the Zephites. They was snitches. Like they went back to Saul and told him where David was. All of that stuff is in the Bible. You can find out about the Zephites. This man was a whole Zephite. He was with them. And I'm like, you can't even trust your own family. They're from the same tribe of Judah. Acting like that. A whole Zephite this guy, and David was trying to be nice to him, knowing he was a Zephite, knowing where he lived. If we go down to paragraph 6, it says there was a man that was a Zephite. See, this is what I was talking about. Josephus is more detailed, of the city of Maon. Same thing it says in the 66, right? Who was rich and had a vast number of cattle, for he fed a flock of 3,000 sheep and another flock of 1,000 goats. Now David had charged his associates to keep these flocks without hurt and without damage, and to do them no mischief, neither out of covetousness, nor because they were in want, nor because they were in the wilderness. So he said, leave him alone. I don't care how desperate you are. Leave this man alone. He was protecting this man without even asking. That man didn't even have to ask for protection. This man was getting kindness from somebody without even requesting it, without even deserving it, right? And it says, this man was Nabal, for that was his name, a harsh man and of a very wicked life, being like a cynic in the course of his behavior, but still had obtained for his wife a woman of good character. So talk about Abigail again, wise and handsome. So this is old school. This is said antiquities. Back in the day, all of those years ago, that's how they talk. They called women handsome. So she was very beautiful. She was fine, whatever you want to say, however you want to say it in 2025 terms. She was a good looking woman. Naval with his evil self was still able to pull her. So we're going to go down a little bit. So it says, when the messengers had carried this message to Naval, he accosted them after an inhuman and rough manner, for he asked them who David was. If we go back into 1 Samuel 25, verses 10 and 11, it says, Naval answered David's servants, who is this David? Who is this son of Jesse? Many servants are breaking away from their masters these days. Basically, he like, who he think he is, right? Why should I take bread and water and the meat I have slaughtered for my shearers and give it to men coming from who knows where? Like, even though they're protecting him, because he could have some thieves and stuff coming up in there stealing. You know, them Edomites was still on the prowl. All of them, Amalekite, all kind of folk was on the prowl, because Saul, he messed up. He didn't do what God told him to do. Yahuwah told him to do. So even after the Samuel killed Agite, the Agath, I think his name is. Yeah, Agath the king. Because Saul didn't do what he was supposed to do, that bloodline didn't break. So we got all kinds of unclean spirits and beings walking on the loose that's ready to steal, kill, and destroy. But David was protecting this old evil Naval and his stuff, right? While he was out there shearing, so that he can get some kindness from him. But this thing gonna sit up here and say, who is this David? Who is this son of Jesse? So this indignant Naval, thinking he's better than all those other guys that's sitting out there trying to protect his stuff, saying that people leaving their masters to coming out and steal things from other folks, but these people actually came to help protect his stuff so it wouldn't get stolen, and he's still acting indignant. So it says in 12, David's men turned around and went back. When they arrived, they reported every word. David said to his men, each of you strap on your sword. So they did, and David strapped on his as well. About 400 men went up with David, while 200 stayed with the supplies. Going back into the antiquities of the Jews, it's a little more detailed, a little more juicier. And this is a Naval talking right here. Now is the time that fugitives grow insolent and make a figure and leave their masters. He's talking about how they leave their masters and go out and start stealing stuff. So he calling David and his men thieves while they're actually out there protecting his stuff. All they wanted him to show was some kindness back to them, right? When they told the men, when the men went back and told David this, he was wroth. It says he was wroth and commanded 400 armed men to follow him and left 200 to take care of the stuff. So similar to what it said in 1 Samuel. And they went against Nabal. He also swore that he would that night utterly destroy the whole house and possessions of Nabal, for that he was grieved, not only that he had proved ungrateful to them without making any return for the humanity they had shown him, but that he had also reproached them and used ill language to them when he had received no cause of disgust from them. So all they was doing was trying to help him. They were being nice to him. All he showed was evilness in return. So David was like, we could have, they could have took all his stuff. They could have took all his stuff. They could have been some scoundrels and took all his stuff, but no, they helped protect his stuff from some other scoundrels that was coming. Now, the servants that was out there with Nabal, helping him shear them sheep, one of them went back and told Abigail what happened. So 1 Samuel 25, verses 14 and 15, it says, one of the servants told Abigail, Nabal's wife, David sent messengers from the wilderness to give our master his greetings, but he hurled insults at them. Yet these men were very good to us. They did not mistreat us, and the whole time we were out in the fields near them, nothing was missing. Going back over to the antiquities of the Jews, here's the matchup. Hereupon, one of those that kept the flocks of Nabal said to his mistress, Nabal's wife, that when David sent to her husband, he had received no civil answer at all from him, but that her husband had moreover added very reproachful language, while yet David had taken extraordinary care to keep his flocks from harm, and that what had passed would prove very pernicious to his master. From the Oxford Dictionary, pernicious, having a harmful effect, especially in a gradual or subtle way. Similar, harmful, damaging, destructive, injurious, hurtful, detrimental. Either way you slice it, David was going to cause some harm to that household, and especially that Nabal, because of the way he treated them. Back in 1 Samuel chapter 25, this is verses 16 through 17. The servant is still talking to Abigail. He said, night and day, they were a wall around us, talking about David and his men. The whole time we were herding our sheep near them. They was protecting them the whole time. The whole time, night and day, it says. And 17 says, now think it over and see what you can do, because disaster is hanging over our master and his whole household. He is such a wicked man that no one can talk to him. Okay, let's stop right there and go back to the 1 Samuel 25 and 3 New Living Translation this time. Abigail was a sensible and beautiful woman, but Nabal, a descendant of Caleb, was crude and mean in all of his dealings. In the Sefer Bible, it says she was a woman of good understanding and of a beautiful countenance. But the man was churlish and evil in his doings, and he was of the house of Caleb, which is Hebrew for Caleb. So we see that the servant came directly to Abigail and told her what was going on, because he entrusted in her that she would do the right thing and save the whole household. Proverbs 2 and 6, for the Lord grants wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. Stay tuned to find out how Abigail uses wisdom in order to save her household.